Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Skin Talk Tuesday podcast. Hi, Nick.
Hi.
Back in
I know
studio.
this is fast becoming my favorite thing to do.
I mean, it's so fun. You are here in your birdcage shirt.
I know.
Once
I know. I was laughing. I was like, I wonder if Mary will want me to change this or if this can just become my podcast shirt because I fit
it
into the background, which I
it
quite like.
does fit the vibe. So if you
Yeah.
see all of the clips, just know that no, they weren't filmed. We didn't do the recordings on the same day,
I
and you just
know.
like love this birdcage shirt.
I do. It's so funny because I'm like looking at you in this hot red dress and front and center, and I'm like, I just want to kind of scooch into the background and just be back here watching everything. So
Well, it's
yeah,
very Pacific. I really do like it
thank
a lot.
you, thank you.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm
Good.
good.
You were
Yeah,
just away for the last few days.
I know. And well, you know where I was. I was
Uh-huh.
by the ocean because it's
Uh-huh.
like school holidays for Noosh.
Yep.
And the minute we get into it, I just want to take her to the ocean so she can decompress. It's like the place where she feels the
Yeah.
calmest. And it's funny, I was doing, you know how we have our, which we can talk about later, but the prototype of our mask.
Uh-huh.
So I was doing one of those this morning
Yeah.
and just thinking, even though these weekends technically are for her,
Mhm.
I actually get a nice little break as well. Like I always
Yeah.
feel like I come back and my skin's glowing a little bit more
I
because I
mean,
do
I feel
some
like that's
beauty
what a good
treatments.
vacation will do, or like good few days off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you if I can steal one of take another one of those masks. I know that we have a little stash going in our office and they're like
Mm-hmm.
put away, do not touch, but I do want one.
Yeah,
So,
no, I want everybody to try.
yeah.
We need to try it a few times before we tweak. I do
Uh-huh.
your notes on the mask are definitely mine too.
Oh, really? Okay, cool.
So
Good. I'm
I'll
glad we're
be
like simpatico like that.
we are. We are.
It's seriously going to be such a game changer. I'm really excited about it.
Well, Bells was talking about how she loved that it brought down the redness so much in her
I was literally
skin.
just going to
So,
say, like, honestly, even more, was it? No, this morning, just because of like the heat and stuff, and I was outside, like, I really wanted a calming mask to bring
hmm
down the redness. And I have some like redness congestion going on my chin. So I just wanted something to like really, combat all of that. And I really was wishing I had the mask, like,
that's why I
because
can't
I
wait till
notice
it
it
comes in.
more than our current sheet mask that we have. I
hmm
notice more redness reducing from that, and I think Bella said the same thing.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Well,
going to be a great. It's almost like a tag team effect, you know. Like I
mhm,
think both masks have their specific sort of uses, but they go well together as well.
mhm. Well, more to come for that.
Mm-hmm.
Today's topic is all about just traditional acne treatments, specifically benzoyl peroxide. Literally, I was doing research for this episode and just used ChatGPT, which I try not to do, but if you have it, why not? And I was asking it like, what are the and that and Google, what are the traditional acne treatments? Like, how do people usually do their acne, um, or cure their acne? And benzoyl peroxide was like the number one in both things.
Yeah.
And I don't even really know much about benzoyl because
Did you never get put on it when you
not that
were?
I remember, but I also
Do you
think it's like
remember
it's
using anything that bleached your towels?
no, not really. And it's also like over the counter, like it's in like regular products too.
That's
So
why it's so popular. Like
yeah,
anything that's over the counter is more accessible, so
yeah,
more people can you don't have to go to a
yeah.
derm to
But I
use a
feel like
benzoyl
it's been
peroxide
so
product.
long since I've been on the PT method and everything, so I have not used, like, anything, so I honestly didn't even know, like, what it is or what we use it for. So I'm really excited to just, like, chat a little bit more about that with you today and also just, again, the traditional acne treatment methods that a lot of, estheticians, dermatologists, specialists use and why we either agree, disagree, why we use the PT method and how that kind of works with our ways of healing acne. So I'm
Okay.
excited to get into it. Let's start with taking it back a little bit for your experience as an acne specialist. Obviously, you're a 16-year veteran acne specialist. You've been doing this a long time and you've been, seeing the waves of different treatments come and go. But take us back to when you were first starting out, especially in this industry. What was the first acne treatment line that was the talk of the town, I guess? And what do you think took off or what about it took off?
The one that I knew about was definitely Face Reality,
Mm,
which is sort of a very mainstream way of dealing with acne. And it was special in its time because it really was the first time that acne prone people were focused on.
mhm,
Like, I think a lot of lines have an acne product or
mhm,
an acne wash. But it was a line that came about where it was like, okay, this is all for
mhm.
acne.
Yeah.
It wasn't a line uh, that I was drawn to myself because of the way that I've always looked at skin, but I did love that it focused on the population that I wanted to work with.
Right, right.
I think I've always, even right when I look back into my career, I've always fought against the mainstream approach, mainly because it never worked for me. And I
Mhm.
had acne from 13 to
Yeah.
32.
So
So it was
when
a
you
very long time.
Yeah, so when you saw this line, were you like, "Oh, this could be something," or were you kind of like, "I don't know about it?"
I wanted to
Mhm.
like it.
Yeah.
Every line that comes through, all of the major lines that are out now that
Mhm.
specialize in acne are all lines that I'll always look into them,
Yeah.
and I'll always check the ingredient deck, do due diligence, because I want, at the moment, until we have our own skincare line, Pacific Touch curates a collection of products from what I consider to be the best.
Mhm.
So I'll always check them out.
Right.
What is usually missing in the traditional lines is that they still, unfortunately, like, and this was back in my day too, concentrate on a very old fashioned idea that acne is just about oil and bacteria.
Mm.
And those
Yeah.
two
You've said that
things,
before.
yeah, and the reason I find it frustrating is because if you only focus on, say, oil,
Mhm.
the remedy is to dry your skin out beyond oblivion, which,
Mhm.
if you know skin and skin health, more importantly, you know that that's not ideal
Mhm.
because, number one, no one wants to be walking around with dry, flaky, red, irritated skin. But as an acne specialist, I also, it's keeping you in a vicious cycle because then your skin is reactive, more easily irritated, and so you'll end up breaking out more. So it
Mhm.
makes no sense to me.
Mhm.
And then the idea around bacteria is way too oversimplified. Like,
Mm.
yes, acne prone people are more sensitive to the acne causing bacteria, which is, it used to be called P. acnes, now it's C. acnes, but it's not the only thing.
Mhm.
And the problem with things like benzoyl peroxide is that it obliterates all bacteria. So, yes, it takes away all of the acne causing bacteria, but it takes away the beneficial
Mhm.
bacteria that actually help keep that bacteria in check. It's
Mhm.
kind of like antibiotics in mainstream health.
Mhm.
You know, you when you take antibiotics, yes, you get rid of the bad bacteria, but you blow
Mhm.
out all of the good bacteria. And so you've got to work at repopulating that. The same thing is true of things like benzoyl peroxide, or if your whole routine is just about killing bacteria,
Mhm.
your microbiome goes completely out of whack.
Mm.
And then you start getting, like, have you noticed a lot of your friends that are on these topicals start getting like perioral dermatitis,
Mhm.
rashes, more reactivity? And
Mhm.
that's because we actually need, this is a, I don't know, a hot take, but we actually need a certain amount of the
Mhm.
C. acnes bacteria.
Yeah.
It's not
It's like
all
in your
bad.
gut, when they say,
Exactly.
like, you need a good balance of both good
Mm-hmm.
bacteria and bad bacteria, or not all bad bacterias, or not all bacteria is bad.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And even bacteria that get a bad rep,
Mhm.
like C. acnes, there's
Mhm.
a certain level of it that's helpful
Mhm.
for our skin barrier.
Mhm.
So to completely take it away, like, using benzoyl peroxide is kind of like, imagine you have a garden with a whole lot of beautiful flowers
Mhm.
and weeds. Using benzoyl peroxide is like pulling out all the flowers to get at the weeds
Oh my
as
gosh.
well, and then putting the flowers
Yeah.
back, and they're all just dying and
That's, like, sad to think about.
but
Well,
that's kind of what it is.
yeah. Well, we'll get into benzoyl peroxide because I know that that can be its own conversation there. But I guess kind of going back to that like history point, what has changed over the years from when you first started, if anything, when it comes to like products and treatments and things like that?
So it's been really slow, although I will say I have noticed a rumbling. Even I
You've talked
noticed
about
it,
this a little.
yeah. And what I'm most proud about is that we've been doing this for nearly 20
Yeah.
years. But I noticed the other day on the subway, you know how you see those ads for like mainstream
Mhm.
skincare brands
Mhm.
and stuff?
Mhm.
I think it was either CeraVe or something like that, but they were talking about the microbiome. Like
Yeah.
people are starting to get that our skin does have a microbiome to
Uh-huh.
nurture because, historically, acne care has actually been about acne, like obliterate acne,
Yeah.
but that actually means obliterate the skin barrier,
Yeah.
for the sake of drying out the pimple and don't worry about the barrier sort of
Uh-huh.
situation. So, but that's been very, very recent. And I would
Mhm.
still say that a good 85% of what acne care has been is the same as it's always been.
Mhm.
Very,
Yeah.
very old fashioned. And,
Yeah.
the cynical side of me thinks that that's because it's $1 billion industry. And
Mhm.
suppression means that a person is stuck in a cycle,
Mhm.
dependent. There's a dependency. The minute you stop whatever the suppressant is, the acne comes back.
Mhm.
So you have to keep up with your dermatologist appointments. You have to keep up with your
Mhm.
prescriptions. There are other prescriptions to combat certain things that those, other suppressants do. It's just
Mhm.
like a huge money making industry.
Yeah, it's so true.
So there's no
We always,
motivation.
like, go back to that as well.
Well, I mean, when you look at it, if you zoom out
Mhm.
and look at it, the billions and billions and billions of dollars that back big pharma have a lot more power than the little people that are trying to help people find a way that doesn't make you dependent on medication,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah.
So it's huge.
Yeah. Well, even with all of this, like, acne treatments and, these different lines that say, like, "Use these four-step things and you'll have clear skin," or, like, the topicals and everything like that. In your opinion, how much of a role do these products even play within the healing? Like, I think, especially in my experience, like, I remember I never used Proactive, but obviously that's a big one
I
for
did.
people.
I remember
Yep.
using, and it's like the
Um
cleanser is like bathtub cleaner.
Yeah, it's
It's
crazy. I used,
gritty and oof.
Rodan& and Fields had a line that I dabbled in, and that was also, like, just obliterated my skin. So in your opinion, like, how much what should we even be considering when it comes to the products?
When you're looking at acne as a condition, the products what you're on is definitely important. But if you are, let's just say, because I know it, on something like a proactive where
Mhm,
it's an acne wash,
mhm,
I mean, effectively, it's kind of what we're talking about. It's an over counter version of what suppression is, right?
mhm,
So it's just you drying out your skin,
mhm,
you're killing bacteria, often starving your skin of nutrients because it's always oil free this, oil free that. But I look at acne as something that, yes, products they play a role, but 80% of it is the person's genetics, their lifestyle, the environment,
mhm.
habits. There's so much freedom when you start to realize all the different things that can make a difference
Yeah,
in your condition that have zero to do with your products.
yeah.
Not saying that I still think it's important to be on a decent routine,
Uh-huh.
and there are certain things that need to be targeted to help acne, especially acne that persists outside of
Mhm,
adolescence. Like adult acne, has a set of traits that need support for
mhm,
sure. So
mhm,
that needs to be there. But outside of that, there's so many other things that need to be dealt with. And the problem that I have with this fixation on a product or a system like Proactive being what cures your acne, knowing what I know, about what acne prone people don't know,
Mhm.
I know it's not going to help.
Wow.
You know,
Yeah.
which is, I mean, just remember back,
Yeah.
did the Rodan and Fields system work for you?
No.
Because proactive, I remember
Yeah.
being super excited. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I think this is why people get so
But I think
frustrated
that
because
people
you get
just, like
excited.
yeah, you
You
get
think
s
this
oh
is
my
it,
gosh,
this
I
is it,
totally
this is
yeah,
it, you
like,
know?
this is the saving grace, like, I went into Sephora countless times, and every time I try, like, a new product, just to be like, "This is gonna be the one, this is gonna be the one," and it just never worked, and then you go to the dermatologist and kind of same thing, like, you think, "This is gonna be the thing, this is
Did
gonna
you used to
help."
hype yourself up? Like I'd be like, oh, getting
Yeah.
ready for the big conversation and the big reveal, and you would go in and spend like 10 minutes, get another script, and be gone,
Yeah, right.
you
It's
know?
it's so true. Well, honestly, even you just saying that, how it's kind of like 80% all the other stuff, like not
Mhm.
lifestyle, yes, but just all the other things that I know that you preach about. But it's kind of like working out in a way. It's like a lot of the times it's like food,
Exactly.
your diet and stress and things like that are like really what are going to show those results and difference than like the working out, actual working out.
Hugely so.
So
Hugely so.
that's so funny. I mean, we always talk about the links between the fitness and diet and or fitness and
Well, because it's
skin
wellness,
industry.
right?
Yeah. It's all on
It's
the same bubble.
wellness. It's like your
Mhm.
system fitness is dealing with your body
Mhm.
and wellness in that, and
Mhm.
skin, you know, is the outer organ that holds
Mhm.
it all in. So there is definitely a correlation.
Yeah.
But I think the big thing, it's even suppressants work until they don't, because
Mhm.
that's the other thing too. Some of these things temporarily work,
Mhm.
you know, and so you get that kind of buzz of, oh, this is helping.
Mhm.
And then, you know, either your skin, like say with bacteria is super smart.
Mm.
So if you're on, I remember I used to get put on antibiotics all the time
Mhm.
from the derm, you know, and sometimes for a really long time, because I come from an era where it was way more reckless. Like the level of Accutane, I remember, I think it might have been 60 milligrams, because I remember I used to take 3 pills.
Mm.
There's no way that they would put anyone on that now for the length, and sometimes I'd be on it for like a couple of years, you know, or I know,
A what?
I know. But I also too, it's growing up in the 80s and also coming from a country that doesn't sue. So doctors were way more nuts. Like when I first came to the States, I was still breaking out. I was like 27. The first derm that I saw here wouldn't even put me back on Accutane because I'd been on it so many
Uh-huh.
times. But you know, on that roller coaster ride, you do clear up sometimes and you get that false hope. But because you haven't dealt with the 80%, the why,
Yeah.
it comes back,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
So it's that band-aid temporary solution
Mhm.
that keeps you in the cycle, that keeps people very wealthy,
Mhm.
and keeps people stuck for years and years and years. I mean, most people that come to Pacific Touch have been dealing with their skin for at least a decade,
Oh, totally. I mean,
you
Michelle
know.
the other day,
Mm-hmm.
our last episode. I mean, same. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into benzoyl peroxide, which is, clearly the name on everybody's lips in the acne industry.
Yeah.
And we kind of touched on it, obviously, a little according to my ChatGPT searches. It's known to kill bacteria and reduce inflammation. So obviously, both of those things like sound great,
Yeah.
on paper. And if, you are breaking out in that cycle, it's like, yeah, sign me up. Want to do
Mm-hmm.
both of those things. But for you as an acne specialist, what is your stance on it? Why do you decide not to use it as a tool for acne healing in the PT method?
So a lot of acne specialists still use benzoyl peroxide,
Mhm.
and the main reason is, you know, a little, we touched on it earlier about accessibility. It's an easy ingredient to have in a over the counter product, you know, so it's not just a dermatologist prescription. So it is in a lot of acne specialty lines.
Mhm.
Uh, what and the other thing that it helps with is, I mean, you know, the struggle of trying to clear acne is very complex,
Mhm.
long and drawn out.
Mhm.
So coming in with benzoyl peroxide is kind of like, that's what I was talking about the garden scenario,
Mhm.
is it just obliterates the bacteria.
Mhm.
But the problem is that it's obliterating the beneficial bacteria, that keeps your barrier really strong.
Mhm.
So when I was faced with, do I want to use benzoyl? Do I want to
Have
resist
you
and
ever
take
been in
the?
a you know, did you ever have to make that decision?
Yeah, I mean, I make
Really?
it all the time
Yeah.
whenever I'm looking at, and I even will take from lines
Mm.
that do have a benzoyl peroxide offering,
Mhm.
but I don't bring it into the clinic. The reason I
Yeah.
don't is because I want to teach you not to need us
Mhm.
eventually. Like, I
Mhm.
want to help you clear your skin, give you the tools and the knowledge because you're going to be acne prone for life. Like,
Mhm.
that's the other thing I think that a lot of companies don't educate people about is that we it's a trait that there's a genetic component.
Mhm.
So we need to learn how to balance our skin because there's going to be things that happen in all phases of life
Mhm.
that are going to impact on us more because we are acne prone. So you're not teaching anyone anything by just killing the bacteria.
Mhm.
And like I said, you actually need some of that bacteria. So
Mhm.
you're keeping people in a cycle, but then the other thing too is the side effects of benzoyl peroxide are dryness,
Mhm.
flaking,
Mhm.
irritation. These are all things that don't spell happy, balanced skin that isn't
No,
going to
like,
break out.
again, in my, ChatGPT research, it even said it can bleach your clothes and your pillowcases and stuff like that, and I was like, "That's wild that we're putting that on our skin,"
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
And
It's
just
just
what we put
crazy.
up, like I remember because I have spent a long time on and off these types of products,
Mhm.
and I remember the tightness, the dryness, the flaking, even to a point where I would get little microscopic tears in my
Mhm.
skin. Like you'd feel the stinging when you sweat and
Mhm.
all of that sort of thing.
Yeah, and you thought
And
that that was, like, a good thing?
yeah, you hated your skin so much that you
Yeah.
didn't care,
Yeah, so true.
which is so sad. Now that I'm a mother, I'm like, I don't want my kids to go through that experience of disconnecting from herself so much that
Mhm.
she doesn't mind what she's doing.
Mhm.
But, I also know that the foundation of, health is what heals your skin.
Mm.
So it's like, it is actually long term a barrier to healing because hydrated skin heals faster. You're
Mhm.
prolonging
Mhm.
the healing. And then you're also, when you're on, like, I can always tell when a person's on a lot of things that are either stripping the barrier of the oil or bacteria and skin is really dry, the brown and red marks, post inflammatory hyperpigmentation and post inflammatory erythema, are really pronounced
Mhm.
because the skin's not hydrated.
Mhm.
It's not healing well,
I
So
mean,
these are things I
hydrated
don't
skin
want.
heals. Yeah,
Exactly.
right, we wanna keep that barrier strong.
So it's kind of you're faced in this conundrum. The conundrum for me was, okay, if you don't, I mean, I don't, I'm going to get a lot of backlash for saying this, but I really don't care. Benzoyl peroxide is an easy way out. It's a band-aid,
Mhm.
boom, the bacteria is all gone, but
Mhm.
your microbiome is left trashed.
Mhm.
And that's not what I stand for. Like, I want people that have healthy, balanced, glowy skin, not dry, flaky, irritated skin that's been beaten an inch within its life.
Mm.
But I knew that by choosing not to use benzoyl, that the journey's going to be longer.
Mhm.
And what's hard about that
Yeah.
is that the person, that's definitely the biggest pain point at Pacific Touch is how
Yeah.
long it takes to get clear you
Yeah.
know and that's kind of where the social worker in me knew that I needed to do, like, that's why we have the weekly virtual hours.
Yeah.
Our estheticians do that because I know that people will need more check-ins. I
Mhm.
jump on social media once a week to answer questions
Mhm.
and just be present, and make an effort to really put a lot of energy into mindset and the things that you need for the long haul. But it's like the long haul gives you the true skin freedom because the people that clear their skin at Pacific Touch don't need us in the end.
Mhm.
They're the ones my alumni's drop off. Like they book an appointment to come and see me and have a
I know,
chat.
but we always need, our products and our
That's
in
true.
our clearing and, we're coming out with all these great facials, like, they still need to come back.
But you know the nice thing, it's like makeup. You know when you get to a point in life where you wear it because you want to, not because you have to.
Yeah, it's true.
And being able to come in and get a facial because you wanna have a facial and you
Mhm,
can do other things rather than, the journey to get clear the old-fashioned way
mhm.
or the way that we do it isn't fun.
Nope.
And so people don't love staying in it. And I think too now,
Mhm,
especially in the age of the internet and just how we're encouraged to be now, people want instant gratification. So our way of doing things is not necessarily appealing to for that reason
mhm.
because it's not fast, you know?
Yeah, but then we also are just missing, I mean, this is just more of a society thing, but I feel like we are missing that, like, human connection. Like, we're all, like, lonelier than ever, the mental, like, so I
Mm,
think that having that, like, yes, it is a longer haul, but we also have the community and the support and the education
yeah.
and X, Y, and Z, and I don't think that you can get that by doing the instant gratification.
Well, the funny thing too is when you start the people that are in the community that are halfway there and onwards, meaning the ones that have gotten through the purge
Mhm.
phase and are really understand now how it works,
Mhm.
you actually see their whole demeanor change.
Mhm.
Like
Oh,
there is
yeah.
because of the community, but
Yeah.
also the education that you receive is so empowering.
Mhm.
Like, people
Totally.
start to the freak out is less about a breakout
Mhm.
because, 9 times I always joke with my clients, I'm like, "My god, you guys could be estheticians at this point
Oh
because
my
they
god. No, I
know
know.
they'll, walk into a treatment with me and be like, "Oh, I broke out on my cheek, but I know it's because I use this new blush or
Mhm.
I've slipped on changing my pillowcases or
Mhm.
XYZ." Like, understanding where things are coming from also gives you a sense of calm,
Mhm.
you know? But I also look at the end result. Like when I look at the people that clear their skin with a Pacific Touch method compared to, say, how I was when I was clear on Accutane, my skin had no life to it.
Mm.
It was, like I said, you're beating your skin within an inch of its life. It's
Mhm.
so dry. I could cut my lip skin off with nail scissors. I actually remember doing that.
Mhm.
Um, the redness, the flaking, like all of that sort of thing. Like, who cares that I have no pimples? My skin is so
Right, it's
sore
like now we
and
have a whole
just,
other problem.
yeah.
Well, let's get into the specifics a little bit more with the alternatives for something like benzoyl peroxide according to the Pacific Touch method. So, okay, that's not an option. What are we actually doing when it comes to the treatment plan?
So we're looking at acne in a completely different way, a lot more holistically. Like, how I was saying to you, the old fashioned idea is that it's an oil issue or a bacteria issue, which the minute you look at cultures that have very oily skins, like if you look at Mediterranean culture or, even in the islands, a lot of people have like a really robust dermis and like
Mhm.
lots of oil production, but no acne.
Mhm.
So we know it's not an oil situation,
Mhm.
right? So at Pacific Touch, we are understanding that acne is an inflammatory condition.
Mhm.
So the basis of what we do is we are seeking to help a person find balance, like take the heat out of skin,
Mhm.
bring down the inflammation, and strengthen the barrier.
Mhm.
There is, of course, some antibacterial, antifungal support that is scattered throughout the whole of treatments, skincare products. You can have antibacterial ingredients that are more barrier friendly, green tea extract, tea tree oil, that sort of thing, in the right amounts. Like I think
Mhm.
that's key,
Mhm.
is that the old fashioned approach is very much just throw this one thing at it in the highest level. Like Accutane is an extreme example, but it's kind of like, okay, let's just like turn off the person's sebaceous oil glands,
Mhm.
and that will, or benzoyl peroxide, let's just kill all the bacteria. It's
Mhm.
like we can have, a handful of gentler. acne bacterial
Mhm.
ingredients
Mhm.
scattered throughout a person's skincare routine to help out.
Mhm.
But we want to strengthen the microbiome so that the microbiome is, less reactive. But also a big part of what acne is the follicle wall collapses,
Mhm.
and that's what gives you the bump. So one of the things that we want to do is strengthen the follicle wall. So
Mm.
you're wanting things that are not bringing down the pressure that's causing the collapse
Mhm.
and actually strengthening it. That's being proactive rather than just reactive or
Mhm.
turning off whole systems that, yes, stop a pimple, but like you were saying, cause a whole lot of other problems.
Mhm.
So, Pacific Touches approach is about inflammation, reducing inflammation
Mhm.
internally and, like topically with products, but also helping a person identify where inflammation is coming from in their lives and giving them concrete ways to help bring that into
Mhm.
balance. Hydration, encouraging people to strengthen their barriers. And we do, and this is not talked about enough, and this is probably the two things that stop me from bringing in other major acne lines that are available at the moment is there's not enough barrier support. Like
Mhm.
the products that they have just don't do
Mhm.
what we can do now with what we
Mhm.
have
Mhm.
in terms of hydrating and strengthening, especially that follicle wall situation that I was talking about. And then the other thing is that we can, like, a lot of people will talk about having hormonal acne. Like that's the buzzword, right? But how often is it ever explained to anybody what that is, or that the fact that there's a whole lot of different hormones that are
Mhm.
at play? And
Mhm.
so it could be, there's estrogen dominance, there's elevated androgens, there's lots of different things,
Mhm.
but there are ingredients that can actually help calm down that hormonal sensitivity. So you want DHT inhibitors, 5A reductase inhibitors, and not a lot of acne lines go that deep.
Mm.
And that's definitely something that I think is missing in all of the lines that we don't bring in.
Mhm.
Um, and we emphasize it so much because cystic acne in particular, all cystic acne has some hormonal involvement,
Mhm.
because what's underneath all of that, like one of the biggest drivers of hormonal acne is stress.
Yeah.
That's not in a bottle.
Yeah.
That's us,
Right.
you
That's
know?
something you just have to you can't really sell it, you know?
Yeah. And,
Yeah.
we've talked about this on other podcasts and discussions. Stress it's not just that pressure that you're feeling or, being sad over a breakup or having a hectic job. It's also our lifestyles.
Mhm.
Intense exercise is stress.
Mhm.
Living in New York City is stress,
Yes.
so having things that can support your follicles that are already sensitive to inflammation, um, but that's strengthening the barrier rather than putting pressure on it
Mhm.
is key.
Mhm. Well, benzoyl peroxide is usually combined with some sort of topical antibiotic, like clindamycin is a popular one. I think I've probably been on it. There's another one that I saw, like
Mm-hmm.
erythromycin. I don't know if you're familiar with that. Um, so why is it that they're both combined together? But then it's also like if it's not ideal for long-term use, which a lot of these things are, then what is the point of even using it in the first place? Like, just to get rid of the acne, like, you know?
I have seen cases where I honestly feel like sometimes it's just a situation where things are being thrown against a wall and seeing if something sticks.
Mhm,
Because I don't even understand sometimes why, like, someone with closed comedones is being put on, you know, an antibacterial, like something that's killing bacteria.
mhm,
It doesn't even make any sense. But it just seems like, and I remember that I went through this in my own acne healing journey. It's just the way that it goes. Like they'll try and see how genetically predisposed you are, how sensitive you are
Mm.
to acne.
Yeah.
So they'll put you on an antibiotic first.
Mhm.
And then if they don't get any movement, they'll throw a topical in the
Mhm.
mix. And then it'll be spironolactone. And then if
Mhm.
that doesn't work, it'll be, they might add adapalene into
Mhm.
that or tretinoin. And then it'll be, okay, none of that has worked, so you need Accutane. So it's just, there's a whole lot of levels
Mhm.
of the same thing,
Right, so they're trying to,
bacteria
like,
and
come up with their own cocktail of sort to,
yeah,
like, get
of
so
suppression,
yeah,
and how resistant
yeah,
or how strong is your acneic gene. Because
yeah,
some of us, like, people that have really strong acneic genes, like not ironically, it's actually totally understandable. The formulator of Rococo
mhm,
is crazy acne prone. She
mhm,
has acne and rosacea. She talks about it publicly, so I can totally talk about it.
mhm,
But she'll pop as it just like the minute she gets slightly stressed.
mm,
Still at this point, and she's my age.
mhm,
You're very acne prone.
mm,
You can always
unfortunately.
tell you can tell the people that are really, really acne prone because they're just so sensitive to the environment. They're
Yeah,
the people that get, the breakouts just when they wear their sunglasses or,
mhm,
wear a hat and they'll get breakouts on their
mhm,
forehead or cysts where their AirPods
right,
go. It's just like, so when you go to a derm, they'll just go through those different
mhm,
levels and keep adding more things to
yeah,
see when it is that your acne is suppressed.
mhm,
And that's really it.
yeah. I mean, because what I was gonna ask is like, okay, well, what if it, like, you can just yeah, okay, maybe you're, like, totally damaging your barrier, but I think a lot of people just want that quick fix. They just want to, like,
Yeah.
have it gone. Is there a world in your eyes that, okay, like, let's just put you on it and then it'll be gone? Or are you kind of like, wait and see?
I mean, I I kind of feel like if someone has a special event and they're on suppressive
Mhm.
topicals, I don't necessarily like I kind of feel like get people to a point in life where it makes sense that they're okay with healing their skin in a real way. And by real, I mean actually dealing with the congestion.
Yeah, the root
Because,
cause.
exactly. So, you will get those cases. Like some people will say that such and such worked for them. Spironolactone, I took
Mhm.
Spiro and it worked for me. Um, I guess hindsight is 20, whatever that saying is.
Yeah, hindsight's
Hi
20/20. Yeah.
Hindsight is 20/20. But as a 52-year-old and someone who's, I've been clear for
Mhm.
2 or 3 years on Accutane,
Mhm.
but it came back.
Mhm.
Sometimes I don't, necessarily throw that in people's faces, but sometimes when people tell me that something has worked, in my head, I'm concerned
Mhm.
that they are going to get to another place in their life
Mhm.
where their body is going to go through something where inflammation gets a little bit too high
Mhm.
for them and acne will come back
Mhm.
again,
Yeah.
And
And
so,
then it's like, well, let's start at square one.
yeah.
Yeah.
And when I meet people that have only been to derms and only been on topicals, they haven't even done the basics. Like they don't know what like that their skincare routines are totally pore clogging,
Mhm.
or they are people that have very active, fit lifestyles, but don't understand how to, how they need to manage sweat and the relationship between like heat and friction and skin and just learning how sensitive their skin is. So it's
Mhm.
like I'm sure, and I'm happy for people, believe me, if people have used topicals and they're saying that it's worked for them, fantastic.
Mhm.
I have just seen way too much in my career and just my own experience of 15 plus years of having
Mhm.
acne. I know suppression is suppression. It's just a band-aid. It's not
Mhm.
dealing with the it's not even acne's not even a problem. We are it's a message, number one. And if you're acne prone, that's just how you're built. That is
Mhm.
not changing,
Mhm.
And so I get nervous that people that have found uh, temporary clearness through suppression don't understand what their skin needs to thrive.
Mhm.
And it's going to come back and bite you in the butt.
Mhm. What about Differin? Because that came up on the market. I honestly remember when I you could buy it in Target and stuff, like, it was
Yeah.
this, like, big exciting thing.
Money,
Yeah, no,
right?
I'm sure, yeah.
Mhm.
So, it's an adaptoline from,
Yep.
again, ChatGPT. How is it different from tretinoin? If it's also, like, a
So,
vitamin A or
yeah, it's a retinoid,
situation yeah.
right? So vitamin A is commonly used in acne healing
Mhm.
because,
'Cause of
a
the
big
skin cell turnover?
yeah, a
Yeah.
big part of what it is to be acne prone is that our skin cell turnover rate is different from a non-acne
Mhm.
prone person. So
Mhm.
vitamin A is something that's super helpful. So my guess is, well, two things have happened. One, a lot of people find tretinoin too strong.
Mhm.
That's why, I mean, the original tretinoin was only the gel.
Mm.
They invented the cream or brought in the cream because too many people were having crazy reactions to the
Mhm.
gel. So they brought in the cream. But then even some people on the cream, it's so strong
Mhm.
that they have reactions. And so the industry that wants to make money are thinking, what can we formulate
Mhm.
that more people can use? That's using the principles of suppression, but you're able to sort of market it to the masses.
Mhm.
It's gentler. So in that way, it's kind of like Spiro. I think
Mhm.
I've said this before in other conversations that we've had. Accutane was I because my mum had acne, right?
Mhm.
She cleared her acne temporarily with Accutane. So
Mhm.
I was on Accutane 13, I was at the
Mhm.
dermatologist. The minute she saw the trauma response, it's funny, it hasn't happened with Noosh yet, but I actually am preparing myself if I see pimples on her face. There's
Mhm.
a trauma response when you've been through it yourself.
Yeah.
And so you kind of do want to, like, my baby's not going through that.
Right, right.
And so you will just,
Yeah.
and in my day too, you didn't ask questions of medical professionals.
Mhm.
Like we are more empowered now we research, we question. We don't necessarily just go on things just because.
Mhm.
Um, but I know that things get reformulated or rebranded when other things become hugely problematic. So
Mhm.
Accutane was the godsend, the gold
Mhm.
standard, the cure for acne in
Mhm.
my day. Uh, and then so many problems and so many terrible side
Mhm.
effects when they discovered that Spiro can help.
Mhm.
Spiro is now the thing.
Mhm.
And Differin is like all of the topicals.
Mhm.
Like I can't even
It's like same
imagine,
idea, but they're
but
like
they just kind
trickle
of make
down or
them more
water them.
gentle. They'll
Yeah.
water them down
Yep.
because, there's been problems. Or you can you can double up now.
Mhm.
Like Differin is not as strong as Tret, so you can put people on two things
Mhm.
you know it's kind of like, oh gee, I hope that finds balance, but also that cynical side of me is like, big pharma loves that.
Yeah. I mean, we keep going back to that. It's really
But it's
interesting.
true.
Yeah.
It's when you understand how much money is behind acne,
Mhm.
it's pretty gnarly
Yeah.
you know
Yeah. It's crazy.
mm-hmm
Well, something that we do use and love, well, I don't know if we love it, but salicylic acid, we have our peel that's
mm-hmm
the salicylic acid, what is it, like 20% or something?
it's a yeah,
Yeah, the
20%.
professional peel, which we do use in the treatment room and we love. I've seen like a few products and things like that just on the market that have like salicylic acid in them. Like, what
mm-hmm
role do you think it plays when it comes to the PT method of healing? Like, how does it differentiate itself from like the other stronger acids?
So I like salicylic
Mhm.
acid. Salicylic acid is a BHA.
Mhm.
BHA means that it's getting into the follicle and getting the debris out. So
Mhm.
if you have, like closed comedones or it's just good for congestion,
Mhm.
getting in there and getting it out so it doesn't build up.
Mhm.
But the problem with a lot of acids, including salicylic, if it's quite strong, I get nervous that people are going to misuse or abuse it. So I don't love, like, I do know that there's like salicylic acid cleansers or
Mhm.
cleansers that have salicylic acid
Mhm.
in them.
Right.
Um, I've always resisted having something strong in the routine because I just understand the psyche of an acne prone person who's in distress.
Mhm.
So the social worker side of me knows it's kind of like Tret. I very rarely meet, I haven't met yet in 16 years,
Mhm.
a person in active flare up that is using tretinoin in a balanced way. Everybody that comes through, the barriers are always trashed. And it's
Mhm.
always, it's either they're overusing it or they're using a whole lot of other stuff
Mhm.
as well.
Mhm.
So it's like, I don't want the person to even be put in that situation. So
Mhm.
I'd rather, like, I see the benefit of salicylic. So we use it in the treatment room,
Mhm.
to help kill the bacteria and
Mhm.
to push out that congestion.
Mhm.
But we use the purifying essence from rococo has
Mhm.
got willow bark extract,
Mhm.
which is a way gentler form of salicylic.
Mhm.
So, and that's what people use instead. And it's very, very hard. Like you can't misuse it,
Yeah.
you know? So in that way, it's like the value of salicylic is a great to be in the toolkit, but I don't love it necessarily, and definitely not in with the cleansers. You know how we've talked before in other conversations about
Mhm.
if your cleanser is too strong, you can derail all of your progress
Mhm.
because your skin is just stripped, number
Mhm.
one, in a state of distress. So
Mhm.
throwing out more inflammation
Mhm.
and your barrier is just imbalanced right from the
Yeah.
get go.
I feel like before finding PT, we've all been there where
Yeah,
you,
oh,
like,
beyond.
use one of those, like, really strong
I loved
things.
them.
Yeah, yeah,
Back
yeah.
in the day,
Same.
oh my
Totally.
god, if my skin felt tight, I was like,
Uh-huh.
"Oh, thank God it's
Yeah.
turning off." Because I remember to this day, I remember opening my eyes in the morning and just my first thought would be, "I wonder how many new breakouts I have." You know?
Mhm.
Hated
Mhm.
walking into the mirror, which is,
Mhm.
I think, one of the reasons when I became an esthetician why I put those
Mhm.
affirmation things up on the mirror because I remember what I used to
Mhm.
think and how I manifested that. But the feeling of putting things that tightened and dried my skin out,
Mhm.
I loved it. It
Yeah.
was
How
so
could you
bad for
not?
me though.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure a lot of people ask you, like, blanketly what you think of brands that are on the market right now. I know that we've obviously touched on a few of them throughout the
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah.
What is your typical response? Like, what do you usually, I mean, people that come in a PT and are like, "Oh, I'm on X, Y, and Z."
I
Like,
mean, in private, meaning in treatment room
mhm,
or things like that, I will give people like blatant
mhm,
exact information. I don't want to be a company that just, talks badly
mhm,
about lots of different companies. But I
mhm,
think what I will say diplomatically, like on Skin Talk Tuesday, I'll answer questions without emotion.
mhm.
Um, but I'll just let people know if it's the best, it'll be at Pacific Touch. Like
Right.
I live and breathe acne.
Yeah.
It's my passion.
Yeah.
I only really, in terms of my esthetician circles, like everybody that I kick around with
Mhm,
are acne specialists.
mhm,
We're talking about everything, analyze everything
mhm,
all the time.
mhm,
So if it's really good and the best, it'll be at Pacific Touch. So if it's
mhm.
not, something's wrong. If you want to know specifics, I won't talk about an actual brand name specifically, but I'll
Yeah.
talk about the components of what I don't like about
Yeah.
an acne healing ingredient or a way of dealing with acne. And if it is, in that other brand, then it is. But I
Right.
don't get into, I feel like when you are on social media, it's so obvious to me that it's the Wild West.
Mhm.
Like there's just thousands of voices
And thousands of
of opinion
products.
products and opinions.
Yeah.
And so I think my message to people always is because mindset is so important. It's like find what resonates with you.
Mhm,
Get to know a brand. Um, if you're drawn to it, try it out. Seek out the education though. Don't just blindly try something
mhm,
just because.
mhm.
Um, but yeah, that's kind of what I usually say to
Yeah.
people.
Well, I'm also seeing a lot of the supplements. I know we kind of touched on it a little bit with Diana and got her response, but when you see somebody in the treatment room trying the supplements and everything. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I understand where the idea is coming from because a
Mhm.
big part of what acne is deficiency.
Yeah.
And this is a message that too that we try and talk about a lot at Pacific Touch. It's like it's not about what you're restricting and eliminating necessarily. It's also about like what's missing,
Mhm.
or there's certain things that acne prone people are just more sensitive to, or are commonly we find are deficient in. Say, for example, zinc is a common one.
Mhm.
Um, but when you put together a supplement and you try and put everything in it, it's not specific enough for
Mhm.
a person, right?
Mhm.
Or my concern with supplementation is that unless you've tested and that you know that you're deficient, it's either a waste of money
Mhm.
or it's not customized necessarily to what your specific issue is. Because under the umbrella of acne, there's so many different things that could be going on,
Mm.
and it also depends what else you're on,
Mhm.
meaning is the supplement interfering with a medication? Like there's a popular supplement for acne that isn't so great if you're on like an antidepressant.
Mm.
And so it's kind of like, unless you know that that's right for you from testing, I don't push a person, I
Mhm.
don't encourage people
Yeah.
to do it like that.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. It's like if something if somebody's promising you the world, especially when it comes to your skin with a supplement, and if you take that, like, yeah, I think it's a similar sentiment to all the suppressants that we're talking about, you know?
Yeah.
It's a different angle. And of course, like it's good intentions and good in theory, but you're right. I mean, we always say test, don't guess.
Test and also make sure that the person isn't able to get it through diet. Like, I
Mhm.
think to jump straight to supplementation
Mhm.
when you haven't looked at, like, does the person know foods that are rich in,
Mhm.
say, zinc, or we know that omega-3 is really great
Mhm.
for inflammation, but it's like encourage people to load up on omega-3s in their diet,
Mhm.
you know?
Right. Well, what do you see is the future for acne healing? Like where are we headed?
I hope that we headed, how we were talking at the beginning of the conversation about seeing that people are now starting to understand that the skin is a living organ that
Uh-huh.
responds to being treated well,
Mhm.
and that really the future in care is more around respecting and strengthening the microbiome.
Mhm.
And if we imagine, like, the microbiome is all of your bacteria that's on your skin,
Mhm.
right? And if you imagine that your skincare could be something that instead of fighting your microbiome, it was actually like taking care of the bacteria that was problematic to a level
Mhm.
where your overall barrier was still great, and strengthening all of the beneficial bacteria that give
Mhm.
you the glow and even complexion and
Mhm.
make you heal faster.
Mhm.
That's where I'm hoping things are.
Mhm.
Like, that's our skincare line is going to be all about that.
Mhm.
Like, I am wanting to teach people that they can heal their skin with nourishment and care, and moving right away from that old fashioned idea that it's about restriction and punishment,
Mhm.
you know? And that's what I manifest it every day. And I think in the way that we work, we really push that messaging because
Mhm.
this is going to sound really super cheesy, but a huge part of the Pacific Touch community are young women.
Mhm.
And I have a little girl. And
Mhm.
so when I'm dealing with people, young women, I don't want them to waste their lives the way that I did, worrying
Mhm.
about my skin on the level that I did.
Mhm.
I want to teach people to be happy during the journey
Mhm.
because life is happening all the time. And our skincare line will just be a physical representation of the love that we're putting into everything that we do,
Yeah.
right? Because I see my little one and all of you. And I
Aw.
just don't want people to waste their life being unhappy about something that they can have more control over.
That's beautiful. Are you crying?
What is wrong with me?
You
You know what
you're
I honestly
I
think?
don't like calling people out, but I just think that that's so sweet. It's you
You
I
know what
mean, yeah.
I honestly, I'm like, this is the second time this has happened, but I suppose in a way it's like having these conversations and going into my deeper why. Like, we talk
Mhm.
about acne all the time and like, what is the why? It's like, why I do this is not really about facials.
Yeah.
It's about helping people.
It's
And I think
so much more than a
when
facial,
I'm
yeah.
talking, especially when I have to look into the eyes of the people
Mhm.
that I'm helping,
Mhm.
it makes me emotional because I want that for them so desperately.
Mhm.
And when I get it, so you know how I always tease you and say that I react more to progress than my clients do?
Oh,
Like beyond,
1000%,
beyond.
1000%,
And but
even with
this is what
me.
it's about. It's
Yeah.
like it is important to me, not
Mhm.
about the physicality. I could care less about the acne.
Mhm.
I just want people to be happy
Mhm.
and feel
Yeah.
good in their skin.
But I
Like
think
that's what
even
it's
on the
about,
client
you know?
side, that's what I mean, makes Pacific Touch and you what it is like, we need that, like, in these super vulnerable moments. I mean, if you know, you know, when you go through the acne journey or, even talking about it is so vulnerable,
Yeah.
and having somebody or just the thought of somebody who is even more excited about your healing than you are, like, that the relief that I
Yeah.
feel is crazy.
Well, I always say too, like, I won't give up on you. Like
Yeah.
there is no case too complex. Like you can give up on me. You can hate the method and just put your hands up and walk away halfway through,
Mhm.
or but there will always, because I believe, like, I know the skin wants to be clear.
Mhm.
It's us and our life and our environment that impacts the acne prone person. We just have to play detective and find out what it is. When you're still struggling on the method, it's not because the method doesn't work, or that your skin is broken and it's not working for you and it's not possible. We just haven't found it yet.
Mhm.
But I won't give up. I mean, that's where the Aries ox in me,
Mhm.
like I am an ox. Like I will just keep going and
Mhm.
going and going,
Mhm. It's true, you
until we
will.
find
I've seen
for
it.
real.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Nick.
We're
You
gonna
were
have to
just
rename this to the Nicola Just Cries Every
yeah, I
Podcast
mean,
podcast. I mean,
we really went everywhere in this episode as we always do. I always appreciate your insight. I was honestly thinking like, wow, this is just like there's so much information. Like I hope you guys had a notebook. Like we were just going into the nitty-gritty of all these different things. So I really
I
appreciate it.
love the nitty-gritty. I feel
Yeah,
like
you do.
now, I mean, remember when we first started this, I was nervous about
Yeah.
giving out my opinions because I just kind of, I suppose, that thing about hanging back. Like, I just want
Yeah.
to do my thing in my corner. I don't want to ruffle
No.
feathers. But now I'm beginning to realize the message needs to get out there. Like, this
Yeah.
is important work. So I'm loving it.
Yeah. More people need to know you. It's so true.
Yay.
All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for listening. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, follow ups, whatever it is, please let us know in Instagram DMs, both Pacific Touch NYC and Skin Talk Tuesday podcast. Feel free to email us at admin@pacifictouchnyc.com, and we'll see you next week.
See ya.
Bye.